Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Cierra Smith. I'm a seven-figure Etsy optimization specialist, Etsy consultant, and business analyst who has had the privilege of scaling 200 plus Etsy shops across the past 6 years with some to seven figures. So in this video, I'm very excited to be breaking down something that a lot of people are wondering about right now, but honestly at any point in history of owning an Etsy shop, people will say, oh, Etsy is down. But it's not Etsy that's down actually right now. It's either your shop or what I'm gonna dress this up as saying your search facing story is. So your search facing story is down, and this is the strategy to actually fix it. And this is exactly how one of my clients who has made 2.8 million plus in revenue on the platform was able to share just this past Monday that revenue from last month is up 28%. So that's a pretty drastic increase of a 30-day over 30-day period. So that didn't happen by luck. It happened because we rewired what buyers see first and how Etsy understands the listing without racing to the bottom on price. So yes, as of late, and this is basically August 2025, I'm shooting this video in September 2025. Last month, Etsy did make some changes to their title guidance. And we've also, hopefully everybody has observed that they made some changes to their mobile crop cover photos. This is a really big change that not a lot of shops implementing, not a lot of gurus seem to even be talking about. But the first image on your listings, which I call your cover photo, some people call your hero image, they are now being cropped for a more vertical ratio. So more of like a 3:4 ratio versus their original square ratios on some platforms and search engines and their original more horizontal orientation. So this is a pretty big deal because certain cover photos are now being chopped, like the photo of the product is being chopped off when that image is being viewed on mobile and even some pages on desktops, like not search pages currently. I foresee that coming pretty soon. We see vertical ratios seem to be taking over a lot of social platforms. Just go ahead and consider that to be a low hanging fruit right now. And if your sales are down, I would strongly encourage you to look at how your listings are showing up when you run searches on mobile. So just go into and probably ideally an incognito window on your mobile device so that you're not having any past search paper factoring in. I just like to do this so that you can also view your rankings, and you can do so and see how actual like Etsy guests are viewing that page instead of it being personalized based on your past engagement behavior. And you can see how your listings are showing up in search, and you can see, okay, are the products being cut off? And if so, that is your lowest hanging fruit. That is something you need to go in and tweak on your highest visibility listings starting out. So if you have ads, order by views descending, and just go ahead and start on those advertised listings with the highest views. And I would just go ahead and update those cover photos. Yes, this may be a test. It could be temporary, but as a business owner, it is kind of your job to stay abreast on these changes. And it's been here for a bit now, like at least a month. So it may be here to stay. And the updated title guidance is something that a lot of Etsy sellers are pretty concerned about. But what I'm observing right now, the data in my own clients' shops, is that the shops winning right now are doing the same fundamentals. They're using their internal data to write SEO, and they're exact matching for long tail keywords that typically they are pulling from their shop's internal data. And I'm going to touch on this a little bit more in just a bit about how they're also expanding some of those keywords past just their past just their internal data. They're using their cover photo as a mini advertisement that answers why this product at this price, especially because I work on a lot of shops that want to be like the premium option on the market. To be a premium market leader, you can't have a listing cover photo that does not justify that price point that customers are seeing. The perceived value of that listing needs to be higher than the price point that they are seeing, higher or equivalent. And these shops are also iteratively optimizing their listings based on real metrics. So not just vibes, they are using their internal data to go in and tweak their listings. So this is not just SEO, but it's also the visuals, it's the price points, it's the layouts, and it's which listings they prioritize, it's which listings they duplicate. They are leaning into what's working. They are focusing mostly on those top 20% of their listings that are driving those 80% of their sales. Now, to really make these insights feel actionable, I'm kind of leaning into this video being structured a bit like an audit on this actual shop. So this was a shop that I'm essentially, I'm auditing it. I'm using it kind of as a case study in the future. But this shop, the products are truly unique. They have handcrafted lucite bangles, rings, and earrings in 16 colors, custom sizing from teeny to large, made to order in Miami with fast dispatch. So competition exists. Of course, in every single market, but most are mass made or can't match the options, and that is this shop's edge. That tends to be one of the biggest things. If your sales are down, and you have not yet defined your product and your brand's USPs, being your unique selling points slash unique selling propositions, this is the time to do that. And you always want to make sure that it is based on Etsy's data. So you always want to make sure it's based on your Etsy-based top competitors, analyzing as much of their data as possible and analyzing as much as your own internal data as possible. And this does include customer reviews. I'll touch more on that in just a little bit. One of the biggest mistakes I see that I do want to go ahead and touch on, this is another really low-hanging fruit because it is essentially you are wasting the opportunity basically. So a lot of sellers, they'll use their title space and they'll mention something like handcrafted by their brand name slash shop name, or they'll mention a product name that is specific to like their brand. Whatever they've titled that product, it's kind of cutesy. They will include that in the listing title. This is not a best practice. You have to use your title space to align with how customers are actually searching on Etsy. So if you want to add these different trust signals or whatever, I would highly lean into text overlays and imagery. So your cover photo, leaning back to it being an advertisement, instead of you mentioning handcrafted by shop in the listing title, I would say mention handcrafted on the cover photo, and you don't have to say by shop because your shop name is already on, people see that from Etsy search, and it doesn't actually add to the perceived value of that listing, to be honest with you. A lot of people don't come to Etsy to look for like a specific shop. They're not familiar with your brand. So just mention handcrafted. That is a reason a lot of customers come to Etsy. But kind of going back to that customer reviews analysis, you want to use your customer reviews to also guide additional overlays. So that's going to be like basically another low-hanging fruit. In addition to you swapping out any kind of handcrafted by shop name and swapping out any cute like product titles, you also want to make sure that you are using your cover photo to communicate the value that you maybe would be removing from the title, and just to communicate additional value that customers would actually be able to see from search, because your title, only about like the first 40 or so characters even show up from search. So a lot of the times you'll have these things in your title that you think are adding to, I guess, like the perceived value of that listing, but customers are not even seeing that from search. So it's not actually an advertisement for listing. It's something they only see when they click into the listing. And most customers, like, they don't even read the title, or at least not the whole title. So you need to use your title real estate for exact matches that bring traffic. So exactly typing out that full keyword that customers are using to find your listings. So before touching anything, you pull the truth from your data. I mine from 3 sources: your shop stats and ad terms, and you look at which queries bring you views, clicks, and orders. I also mine reviews, yours and your top competitors. So direct competitors, analyze their best seller listings. So look at what buyers love, what they fear, and allow that. When I say what they fear, basically just their pain points. Like what do they hate about certain orders? What are the reasonings for their 1-star, their 2-star reviews, even their 4-star reviews? What was that but that they included in there? And allow all of that to guide your storytelling strategy, particularly your visual storytelling strategy. You don't have to do any of this really all that manually. I would just say that your job is to compile all of that data. And if you are for AI, which I am, then I would highly recommend using ChatGPT Pro to kind of do some of these things for you, to actually give you, like, pull out those pain points, those competitive advantages, those purchasing intents, your target customer personas, and to have it help you define your visual storytelling strategy. You can also use it to even clean up some of your data, and so that you can ideally order by like the keywords across like advertised listings that are bringing in high clicks and even high orders. And then you also, the third source that I mine from, you want to mine from, I would say, Etsy search. So a live search in an incognito window and see how Etsy is auto-completing the search terms that you are typing in. Ideally, you want to start with the keywords that you're pulling from your shop's internal data, and then you want to see, okay, how is Etsy elongating this query as I type it in. Sometimes these elongations will be seasonal or trend-based, so it can really, really help you with making sure that your listings are perceived by Etsy's algorithm as highly relevant, because an exact match for a keyword means that you're going to be more relevant than a listing that is not exact matching. And when I say exact matching, again, it's just that exact keyword. Now, Etsy's going to do work to broad match you with different combinations of the keywords that you have within your title, your tags, and kind of just your attributes category. They use a lot of different things to kind of broad match for different keywords, but relevancy essentially ties to exact matches. So I have a video up on SEO, so I'm not going to go too deep in on that, but I think that pretty much kind of explains that. Now, you'll notice that my objectives with data mining does seem to be very holistic. A lot of people overly focus on SEO, but they don't actually focus in on the conversion driving factors within their listing. So pretty much their visuals, but layout, personalization box, variations, all of that factors into whether that listing is actually going to convert. So I mentioned kind of, the objective of refining your visual storytelling strategy and just your storytelling strategy pretty early on whenever I'm talking about kind of turning things around for a shop, because you can't essentially redo SEO and expect it to help your listings if you are not actually tweaking your listings to make sure they align with customer expectations, and typically the very tip top of customer expectations, that you're actually exceeding your competitors. So after your data mining, of course, you do want to also rewrite SEO the right way, but again, SEO updates, they need to be made hand in hand with updates to your visuals and any other updates needed to your listing as a whole. So even with Etsy's latest title guidance, I've been closely monitoring my own client shops. I've been closely monitoring Etsy seller forums, and I have observed that people who are, running in and they're changing a lot of their titles all at once to make them shorter and more readable based on Etsy's guidance, they are seeing a tank in sales. So this is right now, things may change, but I would not recommend you going in and making a bunch of changes to make your titles more short and more readable based on this really recent article that Etsy just put out. I would still say to stick with longer titles, though, but try to make them more readable. That's kind of the best I can say there, is because Etsy's algorithm does seem to be decently personalized. They seem to be trying to lean more and more on AI based on their like their Etsy Up webinar and different things that they've said. I do foresee search becoming more and more personalized, and they need your titles to be readable so that they know what your product is. But just based on what I have observed, listings that have long titles that are still exact matching for long tail keywords that are highly relevant to that product and actually lead to conversions when customers search that keyword, separated by commas and dashes. Even though this is not necessarily a necessity, if the title is, people still kind of understand what they're looking at. And of course, if the product is in demand and it's just a beautiful product, that's always kind of the name of the game. Regardless of the SEO, people want that product. Oftentimes they're going to buy it, and it's going to be a bestseller regardless of the SEO. You'll see this in many, many markets. It's just kind of the way things are. If a product has that strong product market fit on Etsy, it will typically do pretty well. But a strong photo, that is how you actually want to sell that product. So within your titles, I do recommend opening with a core product plus strongest modifier. So whatever could possibly add value about your product, if there's a keyword that can also be used and that's something customers are searching for, start with that keyword. Any kind of value enhancing keyword, I would start with that, since that's what customers are going to see from search. It's part of your advertisement. So something like clear lucite bangle for this shop, because customers do care about the material of the products, that could 100% help it out. So we might want to mention 100% lucite on the cover photo, but if we just start with clear lucite bangle, we're also making sure that we are of course showing up in search when customers are searching for that query. But of course, for customers who may be searching for acrylic bangle or just bangle, we start with lucite, clear lucite, and these are things customers may end up caring about. We know that customers care about this because we did analyze her customer reviews. It's going to be different according to your own market, of course, but leading with your strongest, highest value keywords tends to be a good practice just for the search facing experience. And then tags should echo the title, diversifying things like size, key materials, and phrasing. You want to give the algorithm a lot to work with. Etsy does say to prioritize a diversified selection of keywords versus keywords that are super similar. So let's say your title, we're doing clear lucite bangle, dash acrylic bracelet, comma stackable cuff, comma resin bangle, comma gift for her. That's diversified. Those are pretty relevant keywords. We may want to elongate them a little bit more based on kind of how Etsy is elongating those keywords. And then we want our tags to echo those same keywords, but to also offer a bit more diversification in there. So maybe threading in a few more synonyms, and just, you have more space in your tags to target keywords. So use it wisely. Can't touch but so much on SEO within a pretty short video like this. And then also the first 2 lines of your description, please don't overlook that as well. You want to make sure that you are also using that for contextual mapping. That is how Etsy states that they use the beginning of your description. In regards to SEO, they use it for contextual mapping to customers who have at some time past engaged with listings that are essentially similar to like a keyword that you're mentioning in your top beginning of your description. An example here would be like if you mention modern farmhouse in the beginning of your listing description, and then a customer has been known in times past to engage with modern farmhouse decor, modern farmhouse items, even if you're not maybe mentioning that within your title and your tags, that listing is still going to be higher, more relevant to customers who have engaged with those kinds of listings in the past that do have modern farmhouse in them. So that's kind of the best way I can say it. Etsy uses a beginning of the description based on past buyer engagement, perceived buyer preferences. That's the best way I can explain it, and that's really the only way that Etsy has explained it themselves. So simultaneous step with the SEO is what I've already mentioned is your cover photo, your advertisement for the listing. You want to make sure that you are using this as the lever that it is. So do make sure that your image, your cover photo is showing up strongly and it is not being cropped. None of the text overlays are being cropped. The product itself is not being cropped. And it's just as a really attractive visual on mobile and on desktop and anywhere that customers would see that listing. You kind of have to observe, but for now, like I did mention, Etsy is favoring vertical or 4:3 ratio crops. So for me, I find 2,667 pixels times 2,000 pixels is doing the trick if you did want to make your cover photo highly optimized for mobile. But regardless of what those initial dimensions are, you still need to make sure that if it were to be cropped as a square, everything is still attractive. If it were to be cropped as a horizontal rectangle, everything is still attractive because Etsy, they are still showing those cover photos in lots and just in those pretty much 3 different ratios. And I wouldn't be surprised if they keep experimenting with this. So I would just say to really make sure that you are staying ahead of those dimensional changes because that's really going to help you to stay ahead of the market. And then I would say for the overlays, really, of course, allow your customer reviews to guide that. But I will say some things that customers do frequently care about is if the product ships fast. So if it ships same day, if it ships next day, if it ships in 1 to 3 days, mention that on that cover photo. If it's handmade, I would mention that as well, unless it's like really, really clear. If it's handmade in the US or a country where you know customers care about that, then also mention that. You can even mention like the state or the city or the province, like mention that on that cover photo as well. And then your options. Customers always care about customization and personalization on Etsy. So if you're not showcasing, like visually showcasing the different options that you offer, which I do recommend doing, then you'll want to at least make sure you have a text overlay that mentions those different options. Or sometimes it can even be effective to have swatches that showcase those different options, like those different colors. So maybe in this case, it would be like sizes 3 to 15, parentheses, custom fit. Custom fit is a huge value prop. You may want to do maybe 16 colors, UV glow options, stack and save. All of these would definitely be worth split testing. So I could definitely see having a second cover photo variant that would communicate some of these different text overlays, and we could analyze which leads to the highest click rate and then of course the highest conversions as well. But we always want to make sure that the cover photos do feel very premium. I would even say editorial, and that they build in any social proof that you possibly have. Any media features, 100% experiment with integrating that over the listing cover photo, again, as a text overlay. Right there hand in hand with those SEO changes and the hero image changes / cover photo changes, you also want to make sure that your visuals as a whole are kind of just, they're doing their job. So you want to make sure your visuals are doing the talking. So you're allowed 10 images on Etsy, and I would say every slot sells or it goes. So a pretty good sequence here would be cover with value overlays, mentioning trust, speed, and fit. And then second image could be a color grid or stack shot. This showcases variety, and it is an upsell signal as well. Whatever that is for your market, definitely make sure that customers are very immediately introduced to their different options that they have, and that they are presented with their options for being upsold as well, especially if you do have like that custom option in there. A sizing slide, if you have different sizes, definitely include that. Clarity reduces returns. Packaging slash gift ready slide. This absolutely justifies premium, and shoppers frequently mention this in reviews. They love when an item is gift ready, and they also love safe, secure packaging. They love beautiful presentation, and they love if it ships and the product is not damaged and it still is beautiful and it's ready to gift immediately. If you have strong reviews, include like a reviews receipt slide with real 5-star pull quotes. A lot of customers in this market, or they'll mention so many compliments. So maybe a review featuring that is a full review. That can help a lot, which is make sure customers understand that, okay, this is a product that's going to be attention grabbing. It's going to be just what I wanted because I wanted a piece that was going to be a statement piece that would grab me lots of compliments. And then a listing video as well. Not a slide, but I did want to mention it. 15-second listing video, no audio. Etsy doesn't allow audio, but use it. You can use it as a slide PowerPoint version of the images that you created in Canva. This is really, really easy. You just export it as an MP4. I would first add some animations and some transitions between the slides, make each slide about, typically I'll do like 3 to 4 seconds each, and then it's a really seamless slide. And then 15 seconds total. That could be your video, or even better, if you are able to do this, ideally, if you have any kind of professional camera, that would go even farther, but just a kind of 360 view of that product. And I would merge a clip together that also communicates the different options. So it showcases your side-by-side, ideally like your most ordered variations at least. You want to showcase those as well. So if you're able to do that, that's 100% going to help you out a lot with immediately communicating those options and enhancing your perceived value. Videos play when hovered over in search, so they can go a really, really long way in just attracting eyes. They're dynamic and attracting clicks. Is there an extension of your advertisement? And then I would also have a policy confidence slide. So exchanges accepted within 7 days. That can go a really, really long way. If you offer any kinds of returns and exchanges, there are a lot of customers or sellers on Etsy who do not offer that. 100% do make sure that that is communicated within a slide of its own. I would even say crafted in wherever you're at, guarantee. Customers do care about that as well. You get sick of items being shipped from places that they get sick of the lack of transparency. So if you can show some kind of visual of you creating the product or your team creating the product, that can go a really, really long way. A brand story or brand image slide can go a really long way for just differentiating from competitors and giving customers that peace of mind that what they are seeing is what they are getting. And when you get all of these things right, then you're able to price without apologizing. So I'd say to not lower price as like a first instinct. The first instinct should be to raise perceived value. You can also do this by using a daily rolling sales timer. If you set start and end on the same day, Etsy will place a 24-hour countdown timer on that listing, and this creates urgency. So that's really, you want to get customers to impulsively buy some of these products so they don't think about it for too long. They don't just add it to their cart and they don't come back. If you do those 24-hour sales and you run them, like pretty much a lot of sellers will do this every single day, that can really, really play in your favor. So absolutely do consider doing that. It's really easy to just set up in the sales and discounts tab of your shop dashboard. And you also want to pair with average order increasing discounts or bundles. So a stack and save bundle can really go a far way. If you get one customer, it just feels a lot more sustainable. If you get that one customer, you're able to sell them at a much higher price point. They're getting a lot of different customers and selling them at really low price points. So like in this shop, buy any 3 bangles, save X percentage. That would really, really help her out. Etsy does do quite a bit once these items are added to cart, and even on the listings themselves, Etsy adds labels that let them know, all you have to do is add this much amount more and then you'll get this percentage off, or add this amount more and then you'll get free shipping. These are things, again, that you can set up in the sales and discount tab of your shop, but it's really going to encourage customers to fill up their cart at your shop instead of trying to just, fill up their cart at a bunch of different random shops. And trust me, I'm somebody who shops on Etsy as well. And this is absolutely very true. If there's a shop that has these kinds of stack and save bundle discounts, that can absolutely influence whether I'm going to finish my cart at their shop or, purchase across different shops. And Etsy now lets you target specific items for bundle promos. So again, use it. You can do a shop-wide average order increasing discount with a minimum order value. You can do a shipping discount at a minimum order value as well. But I would also recommend having discounts that are set up for specific items that you know customers are more likely to buy together. Or they could be easily enticed to buy together. All right, continue on kind of the optimization side of things. You also really want to make sure that your shipping is fast. If you can at all ship fast, you kind of have to do it at this point. Etsy is being, there's so many sellers on Etsy, and there's always going to be a seller who can ship an item really quickly. So you're really shooting yourself in the foot if you are not offering quick shipping. So if you can reliably do 1 to 3 days, especially, I'm talking about processing at least, then do it. And if you can, also have a listing image that mentions it. So ships in 1 to 3 days. And if you're, local to a lot of your customers, like ships in 1 to 3 days from Miami, in this shop's case, can go super far. Even having that on the shop banner, I mean, it's just customers, they love that. They're looking for quick shipping options. And especially around the holiday season, customers, they need to be able to ship items fast. Last minute gifts is going to be like, that's an evergreen purchasing intent. So try to make that very clear again from Etsy search if you are able to offer really quick shipping. And I would even encourage having a rush order add-on. It lifts your average order value and it captures gift buyers, make it really accessible. I would mention it on listing images. I mentioned it in listing descriptions that you have a rush order add-on available, and make sure it's clear what exactly that entails. So is that guaranteed same day shipping out before a certain time? Just communicate what that is. And a lot of customers, you'd be surprised, will easily add that on to their cart with their existing listing. So you've got these foundational assets down. Now you would want to use Etsy ads. There are different thoughts on this across YouTube, but I do recommend Etsy ads. They help a lot once your listings are competitive from search and just strong listings as a whole. So that's kind of the disclaimer there. Etsy ads, they work as hard as your listings do. So you need to have really strong listings before you can expect Etsy ads to do a whole lot of good for you. I would really recommend focusing on 3 metrics and over a 30-day view within Etsy Ads dashboard. So focus on a return on ad spend, which is ROAS, CTR, and orders. So those are going to kind of help you to get a good idea of how your ads are performing. If click-through rate, which is CTR is good and orders lag, it is not an ads problem, it's a conversion promise problem. So tweak your cover overlay, your cover photo as a whole, your first image, maybe variation selection that you are showcasing, your entry-level price point, beginning of your title. Maybe it needs to be a matter of you adding shipping into the base price and making shipping free, or vice versa. Split testing will do a lot for you, just duplicating that listing and again analyzing those same metrics. Now, everything that you do needs to stem back to the name of the game on Etsy, which is product market fit. You always want to do what the market is telling you to do. That is the beauty of selling on a third-party marketplace, is that there is an existing customer base that is searching actively on that platform. Your job is to align with their expectations and their searches. So across this shop's top performers, we're seeing clear, transparent, and bold knot shapes earn the most visits. Shoppers arrive on generic terms like acrylic bracelet and lucite bangle, not brand. Reviews gush over fit, glow, comfort, and compliments. And competition wins clicks with stacked visuals and huge color grids, then loses trust on quality/ship speed. So these are our opportunities. That's always kind of what we want to define, is where our customers winning. I'm sorry, where is our competition winning, and where are they losing, and how are we going to win on all fronts? So in this case, we want to make sure our search-facing props always include handmade in Miami, custom fit 3 to 15, 16 colors, UV glow, fast dispatch, gift ready, and real lucite or real material, and maybe even hand polished. All of these things are going to be things we're going to have to test. We're going to have to test out how we can maybe communicate some of these things within the beginning of the title versus on the cover photo. What can we visually showcase? What can we showcase via those text overlays? All of that, this is kind of where the experimentation comes in, but now at least we know what needs to be communicated. So just as a little checklist of what to change, you want to replace your cover photos. Again, starting with your top viewed listings, replace your cover photos. With your secondary images, I would also recommend making sure you have some kind of grid that showcases your different options. So probably image number 2, some kind of grid of your different top selling options especially, and I would even recommend text overlays that name each variation so that customers are it's really easy for them to place that order. They don't have to necessarily have to click through the variations to understand what it is that they're about to purchase. I would also rewrite titles to open with the clearest long tail keyword, no brand name. I would keep commas in there or add commas in, and I would, of course, prioritize exact matches within those titles. And then I would also turn on 24-hour rolling sales. I would also add in average order value increasing bundle discounts, and I would set processing to 1 to 3 days and create a rush order add-on. So all in all, there will always be cost cutters. You win by out communicating. More trust, clearer options, and a faster promise visually right in search results. If your perceived value exceeds your price, you don't have to be the cheapest to scale. If you want a done-for-you version of this, I'm talking research, analyses, competitive landscape analysis, market analysis, keyword market cap analysis, SEO, overlays, full redoing of all your visuals, ads, setup, and management, the whole living system. My team and I do offer full transformational revamps of your shop. Everything is data-driven and target customer-centric. We also offer ongoing retainers. But whether you work with us or not, take today's checklist and apply it to the listings that already get the most views, and you will see movement fast. Definitely check out the links down below. I have my portfolio, business links, case studies for you, and I also have a free checklist down there, again, for you to implement things on your own end. So thank you so much for watching. Drop your questions below and tell me which overlay you're testing first and any other information that you're kind of excited about right now or maybe concerned about right now. And if this helped, hit subscribe, hit that like button, and I will see you all in the next video.